Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Nexus Podcast. I'm Michael, and I'm here with my co-host, Jennifer. How are you today, Jennifer?
Hi, Michael. I'm doing great. Thank you. And hello to all our amazing listeners out there. We're so happy you're here with us today.
Today, we have a very important topic for all of you. We're going to talk about job interviews in English. This is something many people feel nervous about, right, Jennifer?
Absolutely, Michael. Job interviews can be stressful, especially when you need to do them in English. But don't worry, everyone. By the end of this episode, you'll feel much more confident and prepared.
That's right. We're going to teach you the most common interview questions, the best ways to answer them, and some important vocabulary you need to know. And remember, this episode is perfect for beginners, so we'll speak clearly and explain everything step by step.
Before we start, please remember to like this video, share it with your friends who are learning English, and leave a comment below. We love hearing from you. Tell us, have you ever had a job interview in English? How did it go?
Okay, Jennifer, let's begin. Where should we start?
Well, Michael, I think we should start with the very beginning of an interview, the greeting and introduction.
Good idea. So, listeners, when you arrive at a job interview, the first thing you need to do is greet the interviewer. This is very important because first impressions matter a lot.
Exactly. Let me give you some examples of good greetings. When you meet the interviewer, you can say, "Good morning" or "Good afternoon." You should also shake their hand firmly and smile.
Yes, a firm handshake shows confidence. Not too weak, but not too strong either. And always make eye contact. This means you look at the person's eyes when you speak to them.
Right. Now, the interviewer will usually introduce themselves first. They might say something like, "Hello, I'm Sarah Johnson, the HR manager. Nice to meet you."
And how should you respond, Jennifer?
You should say, "Nice to meet you too, Ms. Johnson. Thank you for inviting me to this interview." Or you can say, "It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this opportunity."
Let's practice this together. I'll be the interviewer, and Jennifer will be the candidate. Okay?
Perfect. Let's do it.
Good morning. I'm Michael Stevens, the hiring manager. Please come in and have a seat.
Good morning, Mr. Stevens. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Great. Did you hear that, listeners? Jennifer used polite language, she thanked the interviewer, and she showed enthusiasm. These are all very important things. Now, Michael, what about small talk? Sometimes interviewers start with casual conversation before the serious questions.
You're absolutely right, Michael. Small talk is light, friendly conversation. The interviewer might ask, "Did you find our office easily?" Or "How was your trip here?"
And you should answer briefly and positively. For example, "Yes, thank you. Your directions were very clear." Or, "It was fine, thank you. The weather is beautiful today."
Exactly. Keep it short, positive, and professional. Don't complain about traffic or problems. Even if you had difficulties, stay positive.
Okay, Michael, now let's talk about probably the most famous interview question. Can you guess what it is, listeners? I bet many of you know this one. It's, "Tell me about yourself."
Yes, this is usually the first real question in most interviews, and many people don't know how to answer it well. Michael, what's the problem with this question?
Well, Jennifer, the problem is that it's very open. It doesn't give you specific direction. Some people start talking about their childhood, their hobbies, or their personal life, but that's not what the interviewer wants to hear.
Exactly. When an interviewer asks, "Tell me about yourself," in a job interview, they really mean, "Tell me about your professional background. Why are you a good fit for this job?"
Right. So, listeners, here's a good structure for answering this question. First, talk about your current situation. Then, mention your relevant experience. Finally, explain why you're interested in this job.
Let me give you an example. Imagine I'm interviewing for a marketing position. I might say, "Well, I currently work as a marketing assistant at ABC Company. where I've been for 2 years. Before that, I studied marketing at university and completed an internship at XYZ agency. I'm really interested in this position because I want to develop my skills in digital marketing, and your company is a leader in this area.
Perfect example, Jennifer. Did you notice how she organized her answer? She started with her current job, mentioned her education and experience, and finished by connecting her goals to the company.
Thank you, Michael. Now, listeners, your answer should be about 1 to 2 minutes long. Not too short, not too long. Practice this answer before your interview.
And here's an important tip. Don't memorize your answer word for word. If you memorize it, you might sound like a robot. Instead, remember the main points and speak naturally.
Great advice. Now, Michael, what if someone doesn't have much work experience? Maybe they're applying for their first job.
Good question, Jennifer. If you don't have work experience, focus on your education, any volunteer work, school projects, or relevant skills. For example, I recently graduated from university with a degree in computer science. During my studies, I completed several projects in web development and learned programming languages like Python and JavaScript. I also volunteered at a local nonprofit where I helped redesign their website. I'm excited about this position because I want to apply my skills in a professional environment and continue learning.
Excellent. See, listeners, even without formal work experience, you can give a strong answer. The key is to show your enthusiasm and willingness to learn.
Jennifer, let's move on to another very common question. Why do you want to work here? Or why are you interested in our company?
This is such an important question, Michael. This is where the interviewer wants to see that you did your research. You need to show that you know something about the company.
Exactly. A bad answer would be, I need a job, or the salary is good. These answers show that you only care about yourself, not about the company.
Right. A good answer shows that you research the company, you understand what they do, and you're genuinely interested in being part of their team.
So, listeners, before any job interview, you must research the company. Go to their website, read about their products or services, look at their mission statement, check their social media or recent news articles about them.
Then, in your answer, mention specific things about the company. Let me give you an example. Imagine I'm interviewing at a tech company. I've been following your company for a while now, and I'm really impressed by your innovative approach to artificial intelligence. I read about your recent project helping hospitals diagnose diseases faster, and I think it's amazing how technology can make a real difference in people's lives. I want to work here because I believe in your mission, and I'd love to contribute my skills to such meaningful work.
That's a fantastic answer, Jennifer. You mentioned specific information about the company, you showed genuine interest, and you connected it to your own values.
Thank you. Now, Michael, what are some good phrases listeners can use for this question?
Great question. Here are some useful phrases. I admire your company's commitment to, or I'm impressed by your recent work in, or your company's values align with my own beliefs in, or I've heard great things about your company culture and teamwork.
Those are excellent. And remember, listeners, be honest. Don't say things you don't really mean. Interviewers can usually tell when someone is not being genuine.
Absolutely right, Jennifer. Authenticity is very important.
Okay, Michael, now let's talk about a question that should be easy, but sometimes feels difficult. What are your strengths, or what are you good at?
Yes, some people feel uncomfortable talking about their strengths because they don't want to sound like they're bragging. But in a job interview, you need to show confidence in your abilities.
Exactly. This is your chance to sell yourself, but you need to do it the right way. Michael, what's the best approach?
Good question, Jennifer. First, choose strengths that are relevant to the job. If you're applying for a customer service job, talk about your communication skills and patience. If it's an accounting position, mention your attention to detail and organizational skills.
Right. And don't just say, I'm good at communication. Give examples. Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. Let me give you an example. One of my main strengths is problem solving. For example, at my previous job, we had a situation where our main supplier couldn't deliver products on time. I researched alternative suppliers, negotiated better prices, and managed to fulfill all our customer orders without any delays. My manager was really pleased with how I handled the situation.
Perfect. Did you hear that, listeners? Michael didn't just say, I'm a good problem solver. He told a specific story that proved his strength.
This is called the STAR method. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. First, describe the situation, then explain the task you needed to complete. Next, describe the action you took. Finally, explain the result.
The STAR method is really helpful for many interview questions. Now, Michael, how many strengths should someone mention?
Usually 2 or 3 strings are enough. You don't want to make a long list. Choose your best qualities, the ones most relevant to the job.
And here's another tip, listeners. Look at the job description before your interview. The job description usually lists the skills and qualities they're looking for. Use these as a guide for what strengths to mention.
Great advice, Jennifer. Now, what are some common strengths people might mention?
Well, some examples are communication skills, teamwork, leadership, creativity, attention to detail, time management, adaptability, problem solving, technical skills, and customer service skills.
But remember, listeners, always give a specific example to support your strength. Don't just make a list of words.
Now, Michael, let's talk about the question many people find most difficult. What are your weaknesses, or what do you need to improve?
Yes, this is a tricky one. Many people don't know how to answer this honestly without making themselves look bad.
Exactly. Some people make the mistake of saying, I don't have any weaknesses, or I'm a perfectionist. These are not good answers.
Right. Saying you have no weaknesses sounds arrogant, and saying you're a perfectionist is a cliché. Interviewers hear it all the time, and they know you're trying to turn a strength into a weakness.
So, Michael, what's the right approach?
The key is to be honest but strategic. Choose a real weakness, but not something that's critical for the job. And most importantly, show that you're working to improve it.
Let me give you an example. Imagine I'm interviewing for a software development job. I might say, I sometimes struggle with public speaking and presenting in front of large groups. I'm much more comfortable communicating through writing or in small team meetings. However, I've been working on this. I recently joined a public speaking club to practice, and I volunteer to give presentations at team meetings to build my confidence. I've already seen some improvement.
Excellent answer, Jennifer. Let me explain why this is good. First, she chose a weakness that's real, but not critical for a software developer. Second, she showed self-awareness. And third, and most importantly, she explained what she's doing to improve it.
Thank you, Michael. The interviewer doesn't expect you to be perfect. They want to see that you can recognize your areas for improvement and that you're actively working on them.
Absolutely right, Jennifer. Authenticity is very important.
Okay, Michael. Now let's talk about a question that should be easy, but sometimes feels difficult. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This question confuses many people.
Yes, I agree. People wonder, should I be ambitious? Should I be realistic? What if I don't know where I'll be in 5 years?
Those are all valid concerns. So, Michael, what is the interviewer really trying to learn from this question?
Good question, Jennifer. The interviewer wants to know a few things. First, are you serious about this job, or are you just looking for something temporary? Second, are your goals realistic? Third, do your career goals align with what the company can offer you?
That makes sense. So, listeners, you don't need to have your entire life planned out, but you should show that you're thinking about your career development and that you see a future with this company.
Exactly. Here's an example of a good answer. In 5 years, I see myself as an experienced professional in this field with a deep understanding of all aspects of the work. I'd like to take on more responsibilities and perhaps lead small projects or mentor newer team members. I'm really interested in growing with a company long term, which is why I'm excited about this opportunity with your organization.
That's great, Michael. You showed ambition, but you kept it realistic. You also showed that you want to stay with the company and grow there.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now, here's what to avoid. Don't say you want to have their job or your boss's job. That can sound threatening. Also, don't talk about goals that are completely unrelated to the position. For example, if you're interviewing for a marketing job, don't say, in 5 years, I want to be a professional musician.
Right. And what if someone honestly doesn't know where they'll be in 5 years?
That's okay. You can be honest about that while still showing direction. You might say, while I can't predict exactly where I'll be in 5 years, I know I want to continue developing my skills in this field and taking on new challenges. I'm committed to continuous learning and growth, and I'm excited to see where this path takes me.
Perfect. That shows flexibility and a positive attitude towards learning.
Jennifer, here's a question that can be sensitive. Why did you leave your last job? Or why are you looking for a new position?
Oh, this is definitely a tricky one, Michael. Some people left their last job because of problems with their boss, difficult coworkers, or they were fired. How should they handle this?
This is where you need to be very careful, listeners. The most important rule is never speak negatively about your previous employer, boss, or coworkers. Never. Even if they were terrible.
That's so important, Michael. If you speak badly about your previous company, the interviewer will think you might do the same about them in the future.
Exactly. So always frame your answer positively. Focus on what you're looking for in your next role, not what was wrong with your last one.
Let me give you some good examples. If you left because you wanted new challenges, you could say, I learned a lot in my previous position, and I'm grateful for the experience. However, I felt I had reached the limit of growth opportunities there, and I'm looking for a new challenge where I can continue developing my skills.
Great example, Jennifer. Here's another one. If you were laid off or your company downsized, you can say, unfortunately, the company had to downsize due to budget constraints, and my position was eliminated. It was a difficult situation, but I understand it was a business decision. Now I'm excited to find a new opportunity where I can contribute my skills and experience.
Perfect! You stayed factual and didn't blame anyone. Now, Michael, what if someone was actually fired for performance reasons?
This is difficult, but honesty is important. You might say, the role wasn't the right fit for me, and my employer and I agreed it was best to part ways. I learned a lot from that experience about what I need to succeed, and I've made sure to address those issues. For example,
Then explain what you learned and how you've improved. That takes courage, but it shows maturity and self-awareness. The key is to show what you learned and how you've grown.
absolutely. And listeners, if you're currently employed and looking for a new job, you might say, I'm happy in my current role, but I'm looking for an opportunity that offers more opportunities for advancement. Or I'm seeking a position that better aligns with my long-term career goals.
Good examples. Remember, listeners, always be positive, focus on the future, and never, ever criticize your previous employer.
Now, Jennifer, let's talk about questions related to your specific experience and skills. Interviewers will often ask things like, tell me about a time when, or describe a situation where.
Yes, these are called behavioral interview questions. They want to hear about your real experiences, not theoretical answers.
Exactly. Remember the STAR method we mentioned earlier? This is where it's really useful. Let me give you a full example. Imagine the interviewer asks, tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult team member.
Okay. Using the STAR method, here's how I might answer. In my previous job, I was working on a project with a colleague who was very resistant to new ideas and often dismissed suggestions from the team. That was the situation. My task was to complete the project successfully while maintaining good team relationships. For my action, I scheduled a one-on-one meeting with this colleague to understand their concerns better. I learned they felt their experience wasn't being valued, so I made an effort to ask for their input specifically and acknowledge their expertise in team meetings. The result was that they became much more collaborative, and we completed the project ahead of schedule. My manager praised our teamwork.
Excellent answer, Jennifer. You gave a complete story with all the STAR elements, and you showed problem-solving skills, communication skills, and emotional intelligence.
Thank you. Now, listeners, here are some other common behavioral questions you might hear. Tell me about a time when you failed at something. Describe a situation where you had to meet a tight deadline. Tell me about a time when you showed leadership, or give me an example of a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer.
For all of these questions, prepare your stories in advance. Think about your past experiences and have 3 to 5 good stories ready. Make sure your stories show different skills.
Great advice, Michael. And remember to keep your stories relevant to the job you're applying for. If you're interviewing for a sales position, focus on stories that show your communication skills, persuasion abilities, and customer service experience.
Now, when talking about your technical skills or hard skills, be specific. Don't just say, I'm good with computers. Say, I'm proficient in Microsoft Excel, including pivot tables and VLOOKUP functions. Or I have 3 years of experience using Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator for graphic design projects.
Yes, specific details make you sound more credible and professional. And if the job requires certain skills you don't have, be honest about it, but show your willingness to learn. You might say, I haven't used that particular software before, but I'm a quick learner, and I'm comfortable with similar programs. I'm excited about the opportunity to expand my skill set.
Jennifer, let's address something that makes many people uncomfortable, talking about money. What if the interviewer asks about your salary expectations?
Oh, this is definitely nerve-wracking for many people, Michael. The question might be, what are your salary expectations? Or what salary range are you looking for?
Right. And this is tricky because you don't want to ask for too much and price yourself out of the job, but you also don't want to undersell yourself.
Exactly. So, listeners, here's what you should do before the interview. Research. Look up the typical salary range for this position in your location. You can use websites like Glassdoor, Indeed, or LinkedIn to find this information.
Good advice. And in your answer, it's okay to give a range rather than a specific number. For example, based on my research and my experience level, I'm looking for something in the range of $50,000 to $60,000 per year. However, I'm flexible depending on the complete benefits package and opportunities for growth.
Perfect. You gave a range, which shows flexibility, and you mentioned that other factors matter too, not just the base salary.
Another strategy is to turn the question around politely. You might say, I'm sure your company has a budget for this position. Could you share the salary range you have in mind? That would help me understand if we're in the same ballpark.
That's smart. You're asking them to go first, which can be advantageous. Now, Michael, what if they ask about your current or previous salary?
In some places, employers aren't allowed to ask this question anymore. But if they do, you can choose to answer or politely redirect. You might say, I'd rather focus on the value I can bring to this role rather than my past compensation. I'm looking for a salary that reflects the responsibilities of this position and the market rate for someone with my experience.
Excellent. Now let's talk about benefits. Salary isn't everything. Many companies offer health insurance, retirement plans, vacation time, professional development opportunities, and other benefits.
That's right. When the interviewer asks if you have questions, this is a good time to ask about benefits. You might say, could you tell me about the benefits package, including health insurance and vacation time? Or does the company offer opportunities for professional development or continuing education?
Those are great questions. They show you're thinking long-term and you care about your overall well-being, not just the paycheck.
Speaking of asking questions, Jennifer, let's talk about the end of the interview when they ask, do you have any questions for us?
This is so important, Michael. Many people think this is just a formality, but it's actually a crucial part of the interview.
Absolutely. You should always have questions prepared. If you say, no, I don't have any questions, it can make you seem uninterested or unprepared.
Right. Your questions show that you're genuinely interested in the company and that you're thinking critically about whether this job is right for you.
So, listeners, what are some good questions to ask? Here are some examples. Can you describe a typical day in this role? Or what are the biggest challenges facing the team right now? Or how do you measure success in this position?
Those are excellent. Here are some more. What opportunities are there for professional development and growth? Or can you tell me about the team I'll be working with? Or what's the company culture like?
You can also ask about next steps. What are the next steps in the hiring process? Or when can I expect to hear back from you?
Now, Michael, what questions should people avoid asking?
Good question. Don't ask about salary and benefits right away unless the interviewer brings it up first. Also, don't ask questions that you could easily find the answer to on the company's website. For example, don't ask, "What does your company do?" That shows you didn't do your research.
Right. And avoid asking about vacation time or work hours in the first interview. It can make you seem more interested in time off than in the job itself. Save those questions for later in the process.
Also, don't ask too many questions. 3 to 5 good questions are enough. You don't want to take up too much of the interviewer's time.
Great advice. And remember, listeners, an interview is a two-way street. You're not just trying to impress them, you're also evaluating if this company is right for you.
Jennifer, we've talked a lot about what to say, but let's not forget about body language. How you present yourself physically is also very important.
Absolutely, Michael. Studies show that nonverbal communication is just as important as what you actually say. Sometimes it's even more important.
Right, so let's start with the basics. First, posture. Sit up straight with your shoulders back. Don't slouch or lean too far forward. Good posture shows confidence and professionalism.
Yes, and make eye contact. This is really important in Western business culture. When you make eye contact, it shows you're engaged, confident, and honest. But don't stare. Look at the interviewer naturally, and it's okay to look away occasionally.
Good point, Jennifer. Now, what about hand gestures?
Hand gestures are fine. They can help you express yourself and show enthusiasm, but don't overdo it. Keep your gestures natural and controlled. And don't fidget with your hands, play with your hair, or tap your fingers. These nervous habits can be distracting.
Right. Also, be aware of your facial expressions. Smile when appropriate, especially when you first meet the interviewer and when you're discussing things you're passionate about. A genuine smile makes you seem friendly and approachable.
But make sure your facial expressions match what you're saying. If you're talking about a serious challenge you faced, don't smile too much. Your expressions should be natural and appropriate to the conversation.
Now, listeners, here's something important. Avoid crossing your arms. This can make you look defensive or closed off. Keep your arms relaxed, maybe resting on the arms of the chair or on your lap.
Good reminder. And when you're listening to the interviewer, show you're paying attention. Nod occasionally, lean slightly forward to show interest, and respond with, or I see, when appropriate.
One more thing about body language. Mirror the interviewer's energy level. If they're more formal and serious, match that tone. If they're friendly and casual, you can be more relaxed too, but always maintain professionalism.
Excellent advice, Michael. And remember, listeners, practice your body language before the interview. You can practice in front of a mirror or record yourself on video. This will help you become more aware of your nonverbal communication.
Jennifer, these days, many first interviews happen over the phone or on video calls. Should people prepare differently for these?
Great question, Michael. Yes, there are some special considerations for remote interviews. Let's start with phone interviews.
Okay, for phone interviews, find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Make sure your phone is fully charged or plugged in, and have a copy of your resume, the job description, and your notes in front of you.
Yes, the advantage of phone interviews is that the interviewer can't see you, so you can have your notes visible. But the disadvantage is that they can't see your body language, so your voice becomes even more important.
That's right. Speak clearly and at a moderate pace. Don't rush your words, and smile while you talk. Even though they can't see you, smiling actually changes the tone of your voice and makes you sound more friendly and confident.
That's a great tip. Now, for video interviews, preparation is even more important. First, test your technology. Make sure your camera and microphone work properly. Test your internet connection, too.
Absolutely. Technical problems can make you seem unprepared. Also, think about your background. Choose a clean, simple background. Make sure there's nothing distracting behind you, like messy rooms or inappropriate posters.
Right, and lighting is important too. Make sure you have good light on your face. Natural light from a window is best, but if you don't have that, use a lamp in front of you, not behind you.
Good point. Now, where should you look during a video interview, Jennifer?
This is tricky. Look at the camera, not at the screen. When you look at the camera, it appears to the interviewer that you're making eye contact. It might feel awkward at first, but it makes a big difference.
That's important. Also, dress professionally for video interviews, just like you would for in-person interviews. Even though they might only see you from the waist up, dressing professionally helps you feel more confident and professional.
Absolutely. And here's a tip. Sit up straight and position your camera at eye level. Don't angle it up from below, which can be unflattering, or down from above, which can make you look small.
One more thing about video interviews. Look at the camera when you're speaking, but it's okay to look at the screen when the interviewer is speaking. This is natural and shows you're paying attention to them.
Great advice. And remember, listeners, whether it's phone, video, or in person, the fundamentals remain the same. Be prepared, be professional, and be yourself.
Exactly, Jennifer. Now let's continue with more important topics.
Jennifer, sometimes interviewers ask questions that catch you off guard. These might be unusual questions or ones you didn't prepare for. How should people handle these situations?
That's a great topic, Michael. First, listeners, don't panic if you get a question you weren't expecting. It's completely normal, and the interviewer isn't trying to trick you. They just want to see how you think on your feet.
Right. If you need a moment to think, it's okay to say, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment." Then take a few seconds to collect your thoughts before answering.
Exactly. It's much better to pause and give a thoughtful answer than to immediately start talking and ramble. Some people also say, "That's an interesting question. Could you clarify what you mean?" if the question is unclear.
Good strategy. Now, some interviewers ask unusual questions, like, if you were an animal, what would you be? Or, how many tennis balls can fit in a school bus? These are called brain teaser questions or creative questions.
Ooh, I've heard about these. Michael, what's the point of these strange questions?
Well, Jennifer, there's usually no right or wrong answer. The interviewer wants to see your thought process, your creativity, and how you handle pressure. For the animal question, they want to see if you can think symbolically and explain your reasoning.
So if someone asks me, if you were an animal, what would you be? I might say, I would be a dolphin because dolphins are intelligent, social animals that work well in groups. They're also adaptable and can navigate complex environments, which is how I approach teamwork and problem solving in the workplace.
Perfect answer, Jennifer. You connected the animal's characteristics to your professional qualities. That's exactly what they're looking for.
And for those math-type questions, like the tennis balls question, they don't expect you to know the exact answer. They want to see your problem-solving approach. You should think out loud and explain your reasoning step by step.
Exactly. You might say, well, let me think about this systematically. First, I'd estimate the size of a school bus is about, then I'd calculate the volume, then estimate the size of a tennis ball. Even if your answer's wrong, showing logical thinking is what matters.
Great explanation. Now, Michael, what if someone asks a question that seems inappropriate or makes you uncomfortable?
Good question, Jennifer. In most countries, there are laws about what employers can and cannot ask. For example, in many places, they cannot ask about your religion, marital status, plans to have children, or age.
Right. So if someone asks an inappropriate question, you have a few options. You can politely redirect. I'm not sure how that relates to the position, but I'd be happy to discuss my qualifications and experience.
Or you can address the concern behind the question. For example, if they ask, do you have children? They might be worried about your availability. You could say, if you're concerned about my ability to work the required hours, I can assure you that I'm fully committed to this position and can meet all the scheduling requirements.
That's smart. You're addressing their potential concern without answering the inappropriate question directly.
Now, listeners, if you feel a question is truly inappropriate or the interviewer makes you uncomfortable, trust your instincts. This might be a sign that this isn't the right company for you.
Michael, here's something many people worry about. What if they have gaps in their employment history? How should they explain this?
This is a common concern, Jennifer, and it's important to address it honestly but strategically. First, understand that many people have gaps in their resumes, especially in recent years. It's becoming more common and less stigmatized.
That's reassuring. So, what are some valid reasons for employment gaps?
There's many reasons. Maybe you were laid off and it took time to find a new job. Maybe you took time off to care for a family member. Maybe you went back to school. Maybe you traveled or took time for personal development. Or maybe you had health issues.
And how should people explain these gaps?
The key is to be honest, brief, and positive. Don't over-explain or apologize excessively. Just state the reason and quickly move to what you did during that time or what you learned from the experience.
Can you give some examples, Michael?
Sure. If you were laid off and job searching, you might say, after my previous company downsized, I took the opportunity to carefully consider my career goals and search for the right position where I could make a long-term contribution. During this time, I also took an online course in project management to enhance my skills.
Great. You acknowledged the gap, but showed that you were productive during that time. What about taking time off for family?
You might say, I took time off to care for my elderly parent, which was a family priority at that time. That situation has now been resolved, and I'm fully available and eager to return to my career. I'm excited about this opportunity.
Perfect. You were honest but brief, and you assured them you're ready to work now. What about gaps due to illness?
For health-related gaps, you don't need to share details. You might simply say, I needed to take some time to address a personal health matter. I'm now fully recovered and ready to bring my full energy and commitment to this role.
Good. You addressed it without going into private details. Now, Michael, what if someone has a gap because they were just traveling or taking a break?
That's fine too. You might say, I took a year to travel and gain new perspectives. It was a valuable experience that helped me develop cultural awareness and adaptability. I'm now refreshed and ready to apply myself fully to a new challenge.
Excellent. So the pattern I'm seeing is briefly explain the reason, mention anything productive you did or learned, and emphasize that you're ready to work now.
Exactly, Jennifer. And one more important point. Don't lie about gaps. If you were unemployed, don't pretend you had a job during that time. Honesty is always the best policy, and lies can be discovered during background checks.
Great advice. Employers value honesty and integrity above all else.
Jennifer, most jobs today require some level of teamwork. Let's talk about how to answer questions about working with others.
Absolutely, Michael. Interviewers often ask questions like, are you a team player? Or tell me about a time when you worked on a team? Or how do you handle conflicts with coworkers?
Right. And simply saying, yes, I'm a team player isn't enough. You need to provide evidence through specific examples.
Exactly. Let me share an example. If someone asks about teamwork, I might say, yes, I really enjoy collaborating with others. In my last job, I was part of a 5-person team that had to launch a new product in just 3 months. We held daily meetings to coordinate our efforts, and I made sure to communicate clearly about my progress and any challenges. When one team member was struggling with their portion, I offered to help, and we worked together to meet the deadline. The product launch was successful, and our manager praised our teamwork.
Perfect example, Jennifer. You showed specific actions you took and the positive result. Now, what about conflict? This is something many people struggle to answer because they want to seem agreeable.
Yes, but every workplace has some conflict or disagreement. The interviewer knows this. They want to see that you can handle it professionally and maturely.
Exactly. Here's an example answer. I once disagreed with a colleague about the best approach for a client presentation. I felt we should focus on the cost savings while he wanted to emphasize the technology features. Instead of arguing, I suggested we each prepare our version and then present both approaches to our manager. We listened to each other's reasoning and eventually created a combined approach that highlighted both aspects. The client loved the presentation, and my colleague and I learned to value each other's different perspectives.
Excellent. You showed that you can disagree professionally, you sought input, and you found a solution. That's exactly what interviewers want to hear.
Now, listeners, here are some key phrases for talking about teamwork. I collaborated with, we worked together to, I contributed by, I supported my colleagues by, we achieved our goal through, or I value diverse perspectives.
Those are great. And remember, even if you prefer working independently, you should never say, I don't like working with others in an interview. Instead, you might say, I work well both independently and as a part of a team. I'm self-motivated and can complete tasks on my own, but I also enjoy collaborating with colleagues and appreciate the creativity that comes from different perspectives.
Perfect. That shows flexibility and a positive attitude toward both work styles.
Perfect. Listeners, practice using these phrases before your interview. They'll help you sound more professional and confident.
Jennifer, we've talked a lot about what to do in an interview. Now let's discuss what not to do. What are some common mistakes people make?
Oh, this is so important, Michael. Let's start with the most basic mistake, arriving late. You should always arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early for an interview. If you arrive late, even with a good excuse, it starts the interview on a negative note.
Absolutely. Being punctual shows respect for the interviewer's time and demonstrates reliability. And if something unexpected happens and you will be late, call as soon as possible to let them know.
Right. Now, another big mistake is not doing research about the company. Some people go into interviews knowing nothing about the organization, and it shows. This makes you seem lazy and uninterested.
Yes, that's a huge red flag for employers. Always research the company before the interview. Know what they do, their mission, recent news, and their culture.
Another common mistake is speaking negatively about previous employers or coworkers. We mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating because it's so important. Never badmouth your previous job or boss, no matter how terrible they were.
Exactly. It makes you look unprofessional and difficult to work with. Always stay positive and focus on what you learned rather than what went wrong.
Now, here's a mistake that might surprise people: being too modest. Some cultures value humility, and people from those cultures sometimes struggle to talk about their accomplishments. But in a job interview, you need to confidently share your achievements.
That's a great point, Jennifer. There's a difference between being confident and being arrogant. Confidence means stating your qualifications and accomplishments with facts and examples. Arrogance means exaggerating or putting others down.
Exactly. Another mistake is not preparing specific examples. Some people give vague, general answers instead of concrete stories. Remember the STAR method we discussed and have specific examples ready.
Good reminder. Another mistake is not asking any questions at the end. When they ask, "Do you have any questions?" don't say no. Always have at least 2 or 3 thoughtful questions prepared.
Yes, it shows you're engaged and seriously considering the position. Now, what about phone usage during interviews, Michael?
Oh, that's a critical one. Never, ever check your phone during an interview. Turn it off or put it on silence before you enter. Looking at your phone shows disrespect and lack of interest.
Absolutely. Another mistake is dressing inappropriately. Dress professionally for your interview. It's better to be slightly overdressed than underdressed.
Right. When in doubt, business casual or business professional is usually safe. Even if the company has a casual dress code, you should still dress professionally for the interview.
Now, here's another mistake: not being prepared for common questions. We've covered many common questions today, and there's no excuse not to prepare answers for these standard questions.
Exactly. You don't need to memorize scripts, but you should have thought about these questions and know generally how you'll respond. Another mistake is talking too much or going off on tangents. Keep your answers focused and concise.
Good point. Aim for answers that are 1 to 2 minutes long for most questions. If the interviewer wants more detail, they'll ask follow-up questions.
And finally, not following up after the interview is a missed opportunity. Always send that thank you email within 24 hours.
Great summary, Michael. Listeners, avoiding these common mistakes will automatically put you ahead of many other candidates.
Well, Jennifer, we've covered so much today. Let's wrap up with some final tips and encouragement for our listeners.
Absolutely, Michael. First, I want to remind everyone that preparation is key. The more you prepare, the more confident you'll feel. Practice your answers out loud, do mock interviews with friends, and research the company thoroughly.
Great advice. And remember, listeners, an interview is a conversation, not an interrogation. Try to relax and be yourself. The interviewer wants to get to know the real you, not a robotic version of you.
Exactly. Be authentic. Companies don't just want someone with the right skills. They want someone who will fit well with their team and culture. Let your personality show.
Now, here's an important mindset shift. Remember that you're also interviewing them. You're trying to determine if this company and position are right for you. This perspective can help reduce nervousness.
That's so true, Michael. An interview should be a two-way evaluation. You have value to offer, and you deserve to work somewhere that appreciates you and provides a good environment.
Another tip is learn from every interview. Whether you get the job or not, each interview is practice. After each interview, reflect on what went well and what you could improve.
Excellent. And don't let rejection discourage you. Even the most qualified people get rejected sometimes. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It might just mean someone else was a better fit for that particular role.
Right. Keep applying, keep interviewing, and keep improving. Every no brings you closer to the right yes.
Now, let's talk about nerves. It's completely normal to feel nervous before an interview. In fact, a little nervousness can actually help you stay alert and focused.
Absolutely. To manage nerves, try deep breathing exercises before the interview. Arrive early so you're not rushed, and remember that the interviewer is just another person. They're not trying to catch you making mistakes. They're hoping you're the right person for the job.
Great advice. Another helpful tip is to visualize success. Before the interview, imagine yourself answering questions confidently, connecting well with the interviewer, and leaving feeling good about your performance.
Yes, positive visualization can really help with confidence. And remember, the interviewer has already reviewed your resume and decided you're worth interviewing. That means they already think you might be qualified. You just need to confirm that in person.
That's an excellent point, Michael. You've already passed the first hurdle just by getting the interview. Now, I want to address our listeners who might feel their English isn't perfect. Don't let that hold you back.
Yes, employers understand that English might be your second or third language. What matters is that you can communicate effectively and that you're continuing to improve. Your other skills and qualifications are what really count.
Absolutely. And in fact, being multilingual is often seen as a valuable asset. It shows cultural awareness and cognitive flexibility.
Great point, Jennifer. Now, here's one more important tip. Be positive and enthusiastic. Employers want to hire people who are excited about the opportunity and will bring positive energy to the workplace.
Yes, your attitude matters just as much as your qualifications. Show genuine interest in the role, the company, and the work you'd be doing.
And finally, listeners, remember why you're in that interview room. You have something valuable to offer. You have skills, experience, perspectives, and qualities that can benefit this organization. Believe in yourself.
Beautifully said, Michael. And we believe in you too, listeners. You've taken the time to listen to this entire episode and learn about job interviews in English. That shows dedication and commitment to your goals.
Exactly. You're taking action to improve yourself, and that's admirable. Keep that momentum going. Practice what you've learned today, prepare thoroughly for your interviews, and go in with confidence.
And remember, every expert was once a beginner.
Every successful professional has been nervous in interviews. You're not alone in this experience.
That's right, Jennifer. We hope this episode has given you practical strategies, useful vocabulary, and increased confidence for your next job interview in English.
Well, Michael, I think we've covered everything our listeners need to know about job interviews in English. This has been such an informative episode.
It really has, Jennifer. We've talked about everything from greetings and common questions to body language and follow-up. I hope our listeners feel much more prepared now.
Me too. Now, listeners, we need your help. If you found this episode useful, please give us a thumbs up and click that like button. It really helps us reach more English learners like you.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to the English Nexus podcast if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
Yes, we create new content regularly to help you improve your English in practical, real-world situations. Business English, travel English, English for specific professions. Let us know.
And if you want even more English learning resources, check out the description below this video. We'll include links to helpful websites, additional resources, and our social media where we share daily English tips.
That's right. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for quick English lessons, vocabulary tips, and motivation to keep learning.
Remember, learning English is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, practice consistently, and celebrate your progress along the way.
Beautifully said, Michael. And remember, every conversation is practice, every mistake is a learning opportunity, and every day you're getting better.
Before we go, let's quickly recap the most important points from today's episode. First, always prepare thoroughly. Research the company, practice common questions, and have your own questions ready.
Second, focus on telling specific stories using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Concrete examples are much more powerful than general statements.
Third, pay attention to both what you say and how you say it. Body language, tone of voice, and professional presentation all matter.
Fourth, always follow up with a thank you email within 24 hours. This small gesture can make a big difference. And finally, be yourself. Authenticity, enthusiasm, and a positive attitude will take you far in any interview.
Perfect summary, Jennifer. Listeners, we wish you the very best in your job interviews. You've got this.
Yes, go out there and show them what you're capable of. We're cheering for you.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. This has been the English Nexus Podcast with Michael.
And Jennifer. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep moving forward.
Good luck with your job interviews, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye, and see you in the next episode.